I know Cam's super intimidated, and I'm not, but we're both like, we've taken.
Hi, everyone. We're excited to bring back our Enneagram Conversation series. You know, Enneagram Conversations is just an intentional space to have thoughtful conversations around the Enneagram. And we're so excited that you're going to join us.
Us? Yeah, we're joining you.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so we would love to introduce you to our guest hosts for this month. As you guys probably know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we're so excited to have a conversation this week on Enneagram and mental health hosted by Cameron and Jennifer. Jennifer is an ordained pastor. She's a graduate of Vanderbilt University. She spent the last 2 decades counseling, teaching, studying, and exploring all that God has uniquely designed, how he has uniquely designed each of us. So we're so excited to have her. Cameron, he serves in a church setting. He's a worship leader, middle school director, adult educator. He's going to tell you all the other things he does too, because I think there's a lot of them. He's personally experienced the transformative work of the Enneagram, like I think I have, I know Amanda has, and likes to share that through story and his knowledge through story and through teaching small groups, classes, things like that. So guys, we are so excited to have you on here. Welcome first. We love introducing new people, new faces to our community. The trick probably today is going to be not talking about all the things you're going to talk about when you're hosting this, because I want to know all the things today, but we don't have 5 hours today. So we want to start with just kind of knowing who you are. And so if you'll start by just giving us a little snippet, I'll let you guys fight over who goes first, but a little snippet about you and then your Enneagram origin story. So how did you get connected with the Enneagram? Yeah, it's kind of a lot, but.
Yeah, no big deal. Just tell us all the things. I mean,
all the things, Jen, all the things.
Cam, I feel like because you kind of you introduced me to the Enneagram. This is your fault.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'll let you start, and then I'll kind of pick up where you introduced me.
Okay, so I guess I found the Enneagram when the Sacred Enneagram came out. Chris Hewert's book, and a music artist I follow recommended it, so I picked it up. And I was in a stage of, I'd gone through a lot of anxiety and stuff just all my life, but it hit a peak in about 2015 when my now he's 5 was born. And so I was kind of in this self-help journey of trying to figure out how to process anxiety and all these different things that it's been low level and then it got high level, you know.
Yeah.
And so this was when I was kind of coming out on the other side, wasn't all the way there yet. And I read that book and I didn't really understand all of it at first because it's super, and there's a lot of new language in it. But I share a lot of the books that I think Jenn will like with her. I text her probably too often. I've gotten told to stop sending her book recommendations. But I found it and I really enjoyed it. And then I kind of dove into several other books about it, Richard Rohr's books, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. Lately, I've been reading Dr. Jerome Wagner's books, and they're really good too. And yeah, so I found it. I thought it was super helpful. Taught a few small groups on it. And yeah, for me, it's become kind of a tool for compassion. Like when I kind of forget how to look at people a certain way, I guess, and realize we all kind of have our own baggage and how that plays out in our lives and everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when Cam sent me, it was probably a text and said, "Hey, I'm reading this book. You should check it out. I think you'd like it." So Cam had known me long enough to know that personality science, just kind of everything that goes into what makes us us. Like for me, when Psalm 139 says, "I knit you together in your mother's womb," I just picture this like complex thing coming together that takes not only like our DNA and our biology, but our experiences and our trauma and how we are raised and where we are raised and the culture. There's just a lot that makes us us. And so that's that knitting for me. And I've always been fascinated by that. Took every class on human development I could even find in school. And then I probably, as Cam was a part of ministries I've led, made Cam take probably 15 million personality profiles, whether
Sure.
it's whether it's like the 4 temperaments or Myers-Briggs or Strength Finders. I mean, all of them. If I can take a BuzzFeed quiz on Facebook and it tells me what Disney princess I am or how I like my tacos, it will unlock the secrets of life for me. Like, I'm just one of those people that's like, now I understand why I like guacamole.
Why?
And
What Disney princess are you?
I think I've taken it several times. I don't really feel like that's an accurate assessment, because once I was Jasmine, I really wanted to be Belle. Like, that's been like my aim. But for some
That's
reason,
how you answer the questions. That's how
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
bias your answer,
You're
so
playing
you
the
can
quiz.
be Belle.
I'll totally play the quiz. Like, Cam texts me about a book and I'm like, stop sending me something about book. But when I take the Belle quiz, I'm like, I love books. I really want to be Belle. Anyway, or just want to be stuck in a French village. But so, I was already into this, and Cam knew that. And I also have that personality that when I get caught on something, it's just like a deep dive. So if I go see, like, I remember I went to see the Hunger Games, and this is like me as a 30-something adult going to see the Hunger Games. And then I was like, I need to get into archery. Needs to be a thing. And then I can remember as a kid, like, watching the Karate Kid movies, and I'm like, I need to take karate. So as soon as Cam sends me Enneagram something, I'm like, I need to fully understand this. And then quickly realized it's one of those tools that I'm not really sure we can fully understand, right? But in the process of setting out to figure out who I am, it just unlocked so much. So for me, and having a history with mental health issues and having a family history with mental health issues, seeing the patterns and seeing how even, for me, God working through those patterns. So it's a spiritual journey very much for me, right? I can't separate those, but I think the Enneagram is a great tool regardless of your background or your belief system. Like, it's just one of those things, and it is a tool. So it's not in and of itself like perfection or a way to define ourselves, or especially not a way to define others, right? But when you use it and you put in the work behind it, it's just total freedom. And all of a sudden, I loved myself a little better. Still working on that. I definitely learned to extend grace to others. It transformed my marriage. It has shaped how I parent. I mean, all because Cam sent me a text and said, "Hey, I've read this book. You should check it out."
That's amazing. Cam, I think I need you to send me texts now, because I
No.
Let's do that. That's too far? Okay.
To start that, because it doesn't stop. And I was like, look, Cam, I'm trying to Marie Kondo my house, and when you keep sending me books, it's not making my shelves,
The 30 book rule, awful.
Awful.
You can agree with almost everything else she says. I have more than that on like one part of a shelf. I counted like my big shelf, and there's like 200 books on it. I haven't read all of them, but I've read a lot of them. And it's just, you got to keep them, because then you got to loan them out.
Only the ones that spark joy, Cam.
They all spark
Cam,
joy.
run. Whew.
They all spark joy.
Oh.
They all spark joy.
Okay, I want to know what a typical day of the week looks like for each of you before COVID. So
Okay, I was about to say.
not right now, because everyone's day looks the same. It's crazy. But before all of this crazy pandemic stuff started, what would a typical day of the week look like for you?
I'll let Cam, yours is probably going to be way more entertaining than mine.
It's not. Well, before COVID, it was I work for the government. And so most of the time I get to work from home. Now I get to work from home all the time. So nothing's really changed. And then I was coaching baseball. And then I was coaching soccer, because they didn't have enough dads to coach. And so I kept saying, hey, I'm going to be an assistant coach. And they're like, yeah, assistant coach. And so I was head coach. And then they canceled that. So I got out of that quick. Yeah, so I would on Sundays, church, get up to church around in the early morning for rehearsal, and then come back, get the kids ready, go back for worship, and then stay to do the middle school class, come home for a while, then go back and do a small group. And then on Monday through, most of my days are just, I work from 6 to 2:30, and then I hang out read a lot and then hang out with the kids and go work in the shed and backyard a lot.
That's awesome. How many kids do you have?
Three boys.
3 boys. That's awesome.
7, 5, and 2. So there's a lot of pin-up energy in this house right now.
What, you're not mentioning your super cool hobby.
Oh, yeah. So after watching Forge and Fire for a long time, I started making knives and tools and that kind of thing.
Like really beautiful knives. Not that he's got like aggression issues, but just really beautiful knives.
I've been doing kitchen knives lately. They're interesting.
Ooh.
So
That's cool.
yeah.
How did you get into that?
There's a show on History Channel that's like a competition show called Forged in Fire. And I used to call it, what was it? Like chopped, but for edged weapons is what they kind of bill it as. But it's so funny because we watch all these other shows where everybody's super competitive and don't help each other out at all. And these are a bunch of just good old boys, and they're the most kind people that help. They're like, oh, you can't get that coal started? Here, let me help you. Let me show you how to do it. And they would help each other out. And and I had a little workspace and just started slowly acquiring stuff. So I was selling them for a little while, and then it got less fun. So now I just kind of do them for fun again.
I was going to ask if I could buy one from you. So
Eventually.
My brother-in-law loves knives. We were driving to New Mexico recently, and I needed to cut an apple for my niece. And he pulls out of his pocket like this huge, I was like, do you carry this with you all the time? He just started laughing. He's like, not all the time, but sometimes. I'm like,
Sometimes.
Just when I'm not in public. Oh.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, I make all these like really nice looking knives, and then I carry like a little $16 mini knife in my pocket. It's just super tiny.
Nice.
It's really good for Amazon packages.
Oh,
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Need that too. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
That's not boring. That's cool. It's better. My hobby's watercolor. That doesn't seem as functional.
It's the same thing. It's all the same. Just creative outlets.
Yeah.
Only people with the cool hobby can say that. But okay. All right, Jennifer, what's a typical day of your week pre-COVID look like?
So about a year before COVID, my life took a kind of an interesting turn, and my husband's career required a relocation for us. So I now find myself as a pastor without a church. So I still feel like I'm doing a lot of ministry, having a lot of great conversations, writing quite a bit, thinking through where God is at work in my own life and in the world around us. Reading a ton, not the books that Cam recommends because that's overwhelming and they're too the words are too big in Cam's books. But so my days look very different than I would have normally labeled a typical day. So, we get up and it's really, I almost have a hard time thinking past coronavirus right now, but just get up. I work a part-time job with a nonprofit here in Austin and enjoy those people and what we're doing in the city. So spend a little bit of time writing my own stuff, spend a little bit of time working from them. And then I have 2 teenage boys, which I thought the older they got, the less dependent they would get. And I feel like that's probably part of the goal I should be working toward, but I end up being a taxi all afternoon and all evening between practices and social stuff and managing their lives, and then just kind of trying to figure out what's the next step. I'm kind of in an in-between season. So, which actually Enneagram Conversations are great for me because it helps me understand why I might struggle through my in-between season because I'm not very good at in-between. So
is it the liminal space?
Yes,
That's what that's called?
Like, what do I do with this? I don't know who I am. I'm trying to get my bearings still, but it's slowly coming together. So I don't really have a typical day right now, but I hope to have one soon.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. If you guys had to give people one reason to tune in next week, Only one. There's a lot of reasons, but if you had to give one, this is kind of a two-part question. So if you had to give people one reason to tune in next week, and then the second part of this is, who is this conversation for everyone, or do you think it will apply to certain people specifically? So kind of maybe if you could answer those in the same kind of lump.
Yeah, you know, when we first started talking with you guys about this, I actually didn't realize May was Mental Health Awareness Month. So I think, yeah, obviously, I think everyone should tune in, because I'm thinking about how everyone has mental health, right? And very few of us practice self-care well. But we've talked about this through various lenses, right? As you know, what does it look like as a provider, as someone who might be using the Enneagram to help others? What are our responsibilities with that, and what does that look like, and how can it be a transformative tool that we can help put in the hands of others? But then we've also looked at it through the lens of, how does this shape my mental health? And what does this look like if I come from a family system, and maybe I've got these streams of thoughts and these streams of mental health issues that I've never really properly addressed? So, I mean, that might be someone who wants to tune in. And then if you're curious, I know a question that Cam and I have both received often is, are there certain mental health issues that certain numbers are more predisposed to? And we're going to talk about that a little bit. You might hear Cam and I disagree a little bit. I think if you're looking for a genuine and vulnerable conversation, Cam and I love to be honest and kind of, we might be a little sarcastic, but we're going to be pretty real about where we've struggled, what our mental health issues have been, and where we've used the Enneagram to receive more freedom and peace in our own lives.
Yeah, I agree. I think we don't try to hold like our cards to our chest when it comes to our, personal experiences with the Enneagram or personal experiences with mental health. I think talking about it helps everybody. I think, I probably also have the thing where like I like to share my weaknesses before anyone else can find them out. That way it's like, haha, I can't do anything with them. But I think it'll be an honest conversation about it. We're not mental health experts. I think that's important to note, but we both have experienced it. I think we both kind of helped other people through it a little bit. I think it's ironic that this is Mental Health Awareness Month, since we've all been isolated, and there's a lot of people that get a lot of who they are from how they, from other people, and they're not used to sitting at home by themselves. And I saw a joke that was like, I'm gonna have to finally face my feelings now in isolation. Never mind, I'm gonna bake bread. You know what I mean? It's like it's like people are coming up with these weird hobbies now to get away from that idea of how to address themselves and that self-compassion. So I think, it's just gonna be a conversation about all that.
All the things.
All the things. There's a layout to it.
We've got a plan.
I love that. One of the things Amanda and I talk about often is just creating intentional spaces. We think transformation can happen when we're in community and just having conversations that are open and honest. So I love that you even mentioned that sometimes you'll disagree, because that is real. That's authentic. That is what happens in real life. As we're learning, we talk to a lot about just being on a journey, and everyone that tunes in next week and listens, they're going to be at a different place in their journey. And so just to hear from others, and maybe some people that are maybe a little further along in their journey with the Enneagram, maybe even specifically, I just think that provides so much life and the ability to transform into the way God created us to be and knit us together, like you were mentioning. So I am so excited. Amanda, I know she's so excited all the way from Honduras as well. I only wish
she looks right now. She's so tropical right now.
Yeah, and what you see all these like beautiful trees and the sunshine, but there's also sweat dripping down my back. I'm like, it's so hot out here. I'm living my best tropical life.
Yeah, there you
So, but I'm really looking forward to getting to hear from you guys, to hear more of your story, and just to continue the conversation, because I do think that the more we sit in community and the more we learn from each other, just the more that it has application in my own life. And I know that I walk away from every one of these conversations a better person, maybe a little challenged to think through a little bit more of my motivations behind my behavior, and really let the Lord speak into those places. So I think,
Yeah, Amanda, can I tell them something though about you?
Oh gosh, about
No,
us.
I just want to say, like, if you maybe you've been a part of these conversations, and I've been a part of several, and the first one, the creativity one, really challenged me. It was really good, but they also have these great lists of like gifts by number, right? And I sent Cam a 6th gift. Do you have it? See? And of course, if you
Yes.
yes, and it's a game you play with people, and then I sent it to him, and then we had
Yeah.
social distancing.
Haven't
But
got to play it yet.
people need to check out your list. It's you host great conversations, but those lists are pretty spot on for me.
They're fun. They're fun to build. We have people in mind we think of when we're shopping for those lists, and we do want to. Our whole goal about creating gifts was just that we wanted to get people things that spoke to their hearts, and that said, we love you right where you are today, right? So without maybe putting a label, it'd be really easy for us to get like, I'm a 2, I'm a helper coffee mug, and put those on our list. And we haven't done that yet, just because while that might be really cute and clever, we do want to be able to speak to maybe the deeper parts of their heart. And so that's what those lists are for. I'm glad you got the exist game. I remember we were shopping for that around Bethany's kitchen table, and I just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed.
I look forward to playing it eventually.
Yeah, you'll have to give us a review. I appreciate you guys getting to host with us next week and for your time here today. And we're just really looking forward to hanging out with you next week. So for those of you who are going to join us, we would love to have you join us. It is a free webinar called Enneagram Conversations. You can get on our website, boneandmarrow.market/events to register. We have 2 sessions next week, on Thursday, May 20th at 7 p.m. and Friday, May 21st at 1 p.m. We would love to have you join us.